And what's the ultimate goal when it finally arrives? Well, the primary job of blood is to moisten and nourish every single tissue, organ, and cell it touches. Imagine watering a bone-dry garden. The water sinks into the soil, right? Making the plants plump, vibrant, and alive. That is exactly what blood does for your muscles, your skin, your organs. It provides the deep, hydrating nourishment that keeps the physical structures of your body supple and functioning properly.
I worked as a banker for 30 years, but now I work as an acupuncturist.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into a completely fascinating perspective from Eastern medicine on how our internal systems actually work. In our modern world, we tend to think of the human body purely as a biological machine, right? Veins, arteries, a pumping heart. But the source material we're unpacking today presents a totally different, incredibly elegant metaphor. It treats your internal systems like a highly coordinated, brilliantly managed factory. And today, we're taking a VIP tour of that factory, focusing specifically on the absolute most vital product it makes, your blood. So let's completely rethink what's happening right now under your skin. Here's our quick roadmap for the tour. First, we'll rethink what blood actually is. Second, we'll check out the blood-making factory. Third, we'll meet the management team. Fourth, we'll see how it nourishes your entire body. Fifth, we'll look at what happens when the system fails. And finally, fixing blood through qi. All right. Let's jump right into Section 1, rethinking what blood is. Before we can really understand this factory, we actually have to question what we typically assume about human biology. Most of us, we learned about blood in grade school with a very mechanical view. It's a red liquid confined to tubes carrying oxygen and nutrients. It's a very literal physical thing. But the Eastern view, it presents a profoundly nourishing force, one that is created and, crucially, moved by an invisible energy. In this system, blood isn't just a substance sloshing around in your body. It's a dynamic, active part of your life force. It's literally the difference between looking at dead water sitting in a pipe versus a rushing, flowing river that sustains an entire ecosystem. And that brings us to absolutely the most important word in our explainer today, qi, pronounced chi. If our body is a factory, qi is the electricity that makes the whole place run. Simply put, qi is the vital energy, the life force that powers, creates, and moves the blood. Without qi, the blood is just, it's inert liquid. Qi is the unseen worker on the assembly line, the pressure in the pipes, the actual spark of life. You simply cannot have a functioning blood system without strong, freely flowing qi. Moving on to Section 2, the blood-making factory. So how is this vital fluid actually manufactured? Let's walk through the chronological journey of how your body creates this nourishing force from scratch every single day. Step 1 is super simple. You eat food and drink liquids. But Step 2 is where the magic really happens. The spleen and the stomach take that raw material and they process it. They extract the absolute best, most pure essence of that food. Think of it like refining crude oil into high-performance, high-nutrition body fuel. Then, in Step 3, this refined fuel enters your vessels, and qi steps in. The qi acts upon this fuel, physically transforming it into the rich red blood that sustains you. It is a beautiful, constant assembly line, literally turning your lunch into your life force. Which brings us to Section 3, meet the management team. Because, let's face it, a factory doesn't run without a great staff. In Eastern medicine, we don't just look at internal organs as squishy body parts. We look at them as highly skilled workers and managers, each with a very specific, vital job title in our blood factory. The spleen and stomach, they're the raw material processors, down on the ground floor, taking in the daily deliveries of food and breaking them down. Next up, we have the heart. The heart is the delivery pump, providing that steady, rhythmic push to get things moving. But then we have the liver. And the liver's job title here is incredibly fascinating, the storage and distribution manager. It doesn't just sit there filtering things. It actively manages the inventory of your entire body. What's truly wild here is that the liver decides exactly how much blood goes to each part of your body. Think about that for a second. It's the ultimate warehouse manager. If you go for a run, your liver says, okay, send more blood to the leg muscles. If you sit down to read a book, the liver says, route the inventory up to the eyes and the brain. It actively stores the blood when you're resting and distributes it based on the specific real-time demands of your activities. It's a highly, highly intelligent distribution network. Let's look at Section 4, nourishing your entire body. Once the fuel is processed and the manager decides where it needs to go, a really fundamental rule applies. Blood doesn't move on its own. Actually, it's completely passive. It is simply the cargo. Qi is the truck. Qi pushes the blood everywhere it needs to go through the vessels. If your qi is weak, your blood stagnates, no matter how much of it you actually have in the tank. The two are completely inseparable. The physical substance relies entirely on the invisible energy to actually get to its destination. And what's the ultimate goal when it finally arrives? Well, the primary job of blood is to moisten and nourish every single tissue, organ, and cell it touches. Imagine watering a bone-dry garden. The water sinks into the soil, right? Making the plants plump, vibrant, and alive. That is exactly what blood does for your muscles, your skin, your organs. It provides the deep, hydrating nourishment that keeps the physical structures of your body supple and functioning properly. But what happens when things go wrong? Section 5. When the system fails. If this intricate factory management breaks down, your body sends warning signs. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Have you ever had just incredibly tired, blurry eyes at the end of the day? Your vision feels a bit fuzzy, and your eyes just feel physically dry and completely exhausted? Or how about this one? Have you ever had sudden muscle cramps? Maybe a brutal Charlie horse in your calf, or just random spasms and twitches in your hands and feet? Now, in Western medicine, we might just say, oh, you need glasses, or eat a banana for some potassium. But in the framework of Eastern medicine, these are direct signs that the liver is struggling to store and distribute blood properly. Why? Because your eyes and your limbs are at the very outer edges of the distribution network. They rely heavily on the liver sending them a rich supply of nourishing blood. If the liver is low on stock or failing at its management job, the furthest outposts, your eyes, your hands, your feet, they dry out first. They lose that moistening nourishment, resulting in the blurriness and the cramping. It all connects right back to the factory. So how do we fix it? Let's get into Section 6, Fixing Blood Through Qi. When the system is broken, when the inventory just isn't reaching the limbs, we have to look at the root cause. The ultimate solution is drawn straight from our source material. Qi is the commander of blood. To fix the blood, you must first treat the qi. You cannot just add more physical liquid to the system and expect it to magically work if the factory machinery itself is broken. Because qi creates the blood, moves the blood, and manages the blood, any treatment absolutely has to start by fixing the electricity of the factory itself. The source material breaks down exactly how this is done into 3 very practical strategies using really simple, accessible concepts. First, you strengthen the propelling action. If the blood is moving too slowly or stagnating, you boost the qi's pushing power to get the delivery trucks moving again. Second, you increase creation. If you simply don't have enough blood, like the raw materials aren't converting, you stimulate the qi in the spleen and stomach to make more fuel. And third, you improve containing. Qi actually holds the blood inside the vessels. If blood is leaking out, say you bruise incredibly easily, you strengthen the qi's ability to contain the fluid right where it belongs. Move it, make it, keep it. It's just an incredibly logical system. Which leaves us with this final thought. The next time your eyes are feeling totally tired after a long day of staring at a screen, or your leg muscles cramp up out of nowhere, instead of just stretching or rubbing your eyes, ask yourself, is your internal factory manager, that brilliant liver of yours, just asking for better qi? Or your delivery truck stalled out on the highway? Understanding our bodies through this lens doesn't just make biology fascinating, it empowers us to listen to the signals our own internal factory is sending us every single day. Thanks so much for joining me on this tour, and keep exploring.
I worked as a banker for 30 years, but now I work as an acupuncturist.